Now, last week, Clifford asked me about how the water, how China get water in the Xinjiang region. So I try to answer these questions in a few slides. This is an aerial picture, and you see a lot of holes along the landscape. So the question is, what are these? Well, they are wells. Okay, these wells connects a underground little tunnel system. So this is a depiction of how people are building this underground tunnel. And the underground tunnel is used to tap water from underground resources. Now, most of the water in Xinjiang actually flows underground rather than above ground. So there's a lot of underground river in the Xinjiang region. So what these people have done is tap onto a source of water underground and then dug a tunnel to lead the water from the source to where they want to irrigate. So at the end of the irrigation at the other side, there will be a little ponds there to collect the water. So the water will be flowing from one underground source to the irrigation grounds. So there will be a mother well, and then along the way, we have the access shafts, which allow people to go down there to do the maintenance. Underneath that, there's a channel, there's a water carrying channel, and then eventually a distribution network with dams, gates, and channels to distribute the water. This is a view of the underground. So you can see people can just come down here and then get water if they want to. Now, the beauty of an underground water channel like this is that it avoids the evaporation. So the water can just pass through underground, and at the same time, the water is not contaminated with debris, etc. So the underground system has been built there for at least 500 to 500 years or more. It has been there for a long time. It is a archaeological miracle, so to speak. So this is how the Xinjiang people get their water. There's a lot of underground water in the deserts around China. This is another view of the people going down there to do maintenance work. Usually, obviously, they carry these little lifts, this little hand crank, and then two people, and then lower one person down there. And if there's anything they need to maintain, they can dug up whatever necessary and so forth. This is called the Casas well. So if you want to know more about that, then you can search for this term. Okay, it consists of vertical wells, underground tunnels. As the water originates from snow-capped mountains and flows deep underground, far from farmable land, the tunnels are very long. Usually, is at least 3 kilometers long. The longest one is Hongtou. It was built in 1956 and is 25 kilometers long. It can irrigate about 10 acres land. Each well may be tapped by dozens of vertical wells. A well is in the hillside area is so much deeper than one in the valley. The access wells on the hillside can be up to 10 meters in depth, while vertical wells are only several meters in depth in the valley bottom. So there's a very large drop in height. Okay, after answering that question, we go back to today's main topic, how the Chinese use their parks. First of all, I just use a video from some some sources on YouTube to show you the difference between the USA and the Chinese neighborhood.
Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, and today I'm going to share with you guys some differences between my apartment complex in China and the apartment complex I used to live in the United States, as well as some general differences between houses in the US and houses in China. There's a lot of really interesting stuff to show you guys, both outside and inside, so let's get started. A lot of neighborhoods in China are gated. We used to have like a little key that we would scan to get in, and now they've changed it to a facial recognition system. So you don't even need the little key. All you need is your face, which I imagine everybody has every day, right? So you just scan your face and you walk in. One of the first things I see when I walk in my neighborhood is this elderly people exercise equipment. All over China, you can see these pieces of exercise equipment, and it's not like rigorous exercise like at the gym. It's just like making yourself move, basically. Like this isn't exhausting, but it kind of gets you up and moving. So elderly people can come here and just get some exercise and make sure that their bodies don't start getting frail or sickly. 这个健身器材是干嘛用的呀？这个好像太简单了，像是这个样子，还是这个样子？
可以上下蹭，上下，不用转，上下。对。
你在刷我呀？
就是这个样子。
This one is like a little back massager. See the little nubs on here? So you can get an arm workout, well, a very light arm workout while massaging your back. We got everything here. Something else that is the in thing for elderly people in China is birds. Bird cages aren't just kept in the house. When the bird's owner comes out in the park or the garden for a walk or to sit or whatever, the birds come along too. If you don't look up at the sky and see all of those apartment buildings, it's really easy to forget that this actually isn't a park. It's part of my apartment complex. In the US, the apartment complex that I lived in, and most of the other ones I've seen, either had no shared space, or the shared space was mostly grass, like a lawn, or they would have like a gym or a pool. Man, I wish this place had a pool. But anyway, there usually wouldn't be like a big garden or park-like complex such as this. But in China, the apartments I've lived in, actually a lot of them had places like this. It's really beautiful. It's nice to walk here. You kind of feel like you're in nature and away from the city. Our apartment garden also has a robust and diverse population of stray cats. At first, I thought maybe these birds are just like adrenaline junkies or something and really love to challenge their natural enemy. But then I realized that this plot goes much deeper than that. It seems that a kind neighbor has been leaving dishes of food outside, as people usually do, for the cats. And the birds think the food is for them, and the cats think the food is for them. So a war has broken out over the food. I never saw anybody feed stray cats or stray dogs when I was living in the US, not because people don't want to, but because they just aren't there. They're all taken away to the pound, so there's no like stray animal ecosystem existing like we have in our garden. Instead of feeding stray cats and dogs, people in the US love to feed birds. Ever since I was young, our family always put a ton of bird feeders on our deck to draw in the birds. Here, the balconies are mostly glassed in, so nobody really feeds birds, but a lot of people like to feed the cats. Of course, some things are the same all over the world, like this super plastic playground. There's also a donation box that you can put your old clothes in. At first, I thought this sign was kind of weird, like why would you have this in the park? But then I remembered my days back in the US, going for a stroll, running into a pack of Mormons or running into Jehovah's Witnesses with their little stanza books. So, I guess it's not that weird after all. So now we are on our way to go and pick up a packet. Technically, we have mailboxes, but I've never opened it and I don't even know where the key is. And mailing letters and bills is basically non-existent. Everyone just uses a centralized package pickup center. So how this place works is that you'll get a text that your package has arrived, and then you walk into the building and pick up your package and then scan it to prove that you picked it up. And while you're there, you can also have some ice cream bars from the biggest selection of ice cream I've ever seen anywhere. I mean, seriously, this place has like every single brand of ice cream bar that exists in all of China. Look at all the ice cream. There's also no like cash register person or anything. You're just trusted to match up the price yourself and pay for it yourself. Now we're on our way to my apartment where I'll show you guys a couple more interesting things. So you might have noticed something interesting about this bathroom is that there's no bathtub, there's no curtain, there's no little glass door. The shower is kind of here, and the water just goes out all over the floor of the bathroom and then goes down the drain over here. And these are really common in China. Most of the apartments I've lived in had a shower like this. It does save a lot of space, but when I first got here, I thought it was kind of weird because the floor gets so wet and it's just like the shower and the toilet and everything is just together. It's in this one condensed space. There's another really interesting feature in Chinese bathrooms, which is this gigantic light here. It's actually for keeping you warm while you take a shower, but let me show you guys just how bright this thing is. It's crazy how bright it is. Like, oh my gosh, it's so bright. You know what I feel like when this thing is turned on? I feel like a snake in a terrarium with those like heating lamps, you know, like it's really intense. But Chinese people, they like never wear sunglasses. I think people's eyes just aren't so sensitive here, but I cannot tolerate this light. It is way too intense. It's like sun in my eyeball. But yeah, it's to keep you warm while you're taking a shower. One of the biggest differences I've noticed between Chinese homes and homes in the US is that people here almost always hang their clothes to dry. It's very uncommon to have a dryer. Sometimes they're seen in like hotels and stuff, but not really in people's homes. So people either will dry their clothes like right here, how they're all hanging on this rack that the house comes with, or they will hang them outside of their house on like a pole. And I've lived in an apartment that did that as well. And sometimes people think that, oh, that's like so messy looking to have all those clothes there. They're kind of in the way. It's like kind of impacts the appearance of the room. But I'll show you guys something cool. Now the room feels a little bit more clear. So I don't really see very many of these like glass balcony type things in the US. It's either like an outdoor balcony or maybe there would be a sunroom, but this is just like a glass attachment to the bedroom. And this is a place where people will hang clothes because you can get a lot of exposure to the sunlight and help them dry faster. So why waste electricity putting it in a dryer? It's cool that you can just let the sun do its work and just let them dry on their own. In a day or two, they'll be all dry and ready to be put away. That's all for today. I hope you guys found it somewhat interesting. And to be honest, when it comes to life inside the apartment, most things are really similar to being back in the US. It's the outside that's really different. The whole setup of the neighborhood and just the way things are outside of the apartment is super different from when I was living in an apartment in the United States. But anyway, I hope you all found this interesting, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of my life in China with you guys in upcoming months since my thesis is finally done.
Okay, so there's one interesting aspect. Here is another one on the sidewalk. I don't think we can ever see something like this in our streets.
You're probably wondering what these pesky Chinese people are up to on a Tuesday morning at 11:30. They're dancing. How dangerous is that? I'm telling you, the Chinese have more fun with their spare time than any other community I've ever seen. And I think a lot of it has to do with the girls get to retire when they're 50 and the boys get to retire when they're 55. So they have a lot more time on their hands when they get a little bit older. You know what? Chinese live as long as Westerners do, and sometimes longer, depending on which country you're from. And one of the things that helps, the weather is always good here in Nanning, Guangxi Autonomous Region. I can't say the singing is always good though, because holy smokes, but at least they're trying out there. They're going out and doing it. I wonder if this will get demonetized because of the music in the background. That happens a lot of times, but I really don't care. It's one of those things that Guelo doesn't do this for the money. Guelo does it for the fun. It's a hobby. And it gets me out into areas like this where I probably wouldn't be here if I wasn't making videos. So I'm gaining something out of this also. Different people with different hobbies, and you got more musical instruments, you've got people exercising, people playing badminton, and I haven't gone, but I don't know, maybe a couple 100 yards down, geez, I'm giving my age away again. I haven't gone but a couple 100 meters down the riverbank, and we've already seen this much. Wonder what's next. Could it all be just old people on the riverbank, or could there be some younger people? Well, of course, they've got something for everybody here. It doesn't matter whether you're old, middle-aged, a toddler. There's something for everybody, and I think that's what makes the parks. And this isn't really a park. What this is just the riverbank, but let's call it a park. That's what makes the parks here special. That they do draw crowds. The people actually use them. It's a place to get out of the apartment, for one thing, because as everybody knows, apartment dwelling sort of sucks because you don't have the green space. But in a place like China, they have the green space because they make it, and people actually do use it. It's one of those things. I just love this place. You know what I mean? Like, if I wanted to, I could walk back about 100 yards, grab an ice cold Li Chen Peugeot, and be sitting here drinking a cold beer on a Tuesday morning, making a video, and nobody would give a rat's ass if you're drinking a beer or not. And that's another one of the things that I like about this place, that they don't have those restrictions in place that they do in the West. This morning I'm hanging out on the Yonge River here in Nanning, doing a video, basically just about the walk on the river. And whether people enjoy it or not, well, it makes a difference to me, because I want people to enjoy what I show them. But this walk is actually for me, getting out and about and just being alone for a little bit. Because we've been so busy, we've been traveling, we've been, and tomorrow we've got a barbecue outside the city, barbecued sheep that we're going to with a big group of people. It's I love barbecues. Whenever somebody says, "Hey, Guelo, you want to go to a barbecue?" It's like, yeah, when do we go, type thing. Because with me, it's barbecue and beer. It's always barbecue and beer, because that's just the way life is in my world. But I remember about 15 years ago, we went to a barbecue. It was on the Yonge River, just a different area of the city here in Nanning, and that place was a petting zoo during the daytime, and those animals turned into on the menu at night, killing two birds with one stone. You might think it's brutal, but it's really not. It's the same thing as buying your meat in a store in a package. Those animals are slaughtered and cut up for your enjoyment, I guess, is what sustenance. In China, they just look at it a little differently. It's not considered brutal in any way. So yeah, so we're going on a barbecue, a sheep barbecue tomorrow. So that video will be coming out here in the next couple of days too. And maybe one of the things I don't do enough of is turning the camera around and just walking, so you can see basically what I'm seeing here in China. you've really got to come here and experience it to actually know what it's all about. It's not just a dictator or an authoritarian regime running the
No, it's
country.
not
It's
okay.
not
I need
just
power.
Chinese people wearing beautiful little green uniforms and Chinese police and high rises and farm fields and fishing, and it's it's all of that combined. And talking about fishing, there's people fishing right here. Just like anywhere else. You see, and that's what people don't quite understand. The Chinese people are basically exactly the same as what we are. They have the same hobbies. They have the same understanding of the world. They want a better life for their children. They want a better life for their families. Future is everything. And they like the fishing. They like the playing instruments. They like, they like drinking beer, just like Guela. And that's basically what I'm trying to portray here. It does look different here, though. You don't get this in the West. You know what? You don't get a lot of this in the West. All of those buildings right there, those weren't here 2 years ago. Those are all brand new. Actually, I don't think there's anybody living in. Well, you can see the crane there. I don't think there's anybody living in them yet. They're still that new. Things go up so fast here in China. So, if you're gone for a couple of years and you come back, it's pretty hard to recognize the streets in some areas of the city that you thought you knew. See the guy out there with his dog? He throws something out, the dog goes out and gets it and comes back. Yeah. So just to give you an idea of where we were on the riverbank, see the building over there. You can see this is the downtown Chaoyang district of Nanning. And you can see on both sides of the river, it's sort of like walking past parks, places for the people to sort of hang out and you see all of the construction that's going on around. I'm standing on a bridge right now. Yes, I am. And you can see as I turn around, just the sheer number of buildings that have gone up and are going up. Basically, as we speak here, it's one of those things. China is in a growth spurt. It has been for the last 20 years or 18 years that I've been here for sure. Is it going to stay growing like it has? I believe so. I believe that they're just getting started, guys. The idea that the crane is a national bird of China? Oh, yes. Every skyline has a number of them. And that, my friends, is another video from Guilao 60 on the banks of the Yangtze River in Nanning, China. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button. Thanks for
Outdoor gym.
Albert,
Yes.
what we saw there, parks and people on the on the pavement doing exercise and dancing, does that also exist in the major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou? This was a smaller city, I presume, what he was coming
Yes.
from.
It existed everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. The other question,
yeah.
question I have also is, do you know if in China, like in the West, we have racism? We have anti-Muslim, anti-Semitic, anti-Chinese, all those sort of things, where a considerable number of people are like that. Do the Chinese people inherently have those sort of feelings? I know they don't come across as much as we do of Westerners or whatever, but still, what do you say?
I say no. We don't have racism because Chinese people has been in contact with at least with the West from the Roman Empire's time. The Silk Road has been there for over 2,000 years. So there were constant stream of people coming into China. And then we also recognize 56 different minority groups. Some of them will look very different from typical Chinese. For example, the Uyghurs, they will have blonde hair, green eyes. Some Russians also settle in China, some Thailand people. So we have also people living among Chinese for such a long time. We've forgotten what is meant by racism. We don't have it.
I've got one more question. I don't want to, and I'm not going to say anything else. I'm hogging it
No
a bit.
problem. You can.
China has a bit of some, I don't know, 50 kilometers border with Afghanistan. Yes. And I was listening to a video the other day where the people would talk about the problem with the Taliban and terrorism and things like that.
Yeah.
And they said that China was becoming, if you could say, friendly with the Taliban. Yeah. Because they want to use that area of Afghanistan for the Belt and Road to get to Western Europe. Yeah. Yes. And so is there a danger that China is sort of supporting a terrorist organization and the potential for other terrorists, you know, all the other ones, the Al-Qaeda and so on? The East Turkeys, whatever group they are. Yes. Now, China, we have a lot of problems with Xinjiang people, especially coming from the Western media. We thought China was cramping down Xinjiang and doing genocide in Xinjiang, etc., etc. Yep. The fact is that around 2014, China suffered quite a bit of terrorist attack from people from Xinjiang, especially the Uyghurs, who have left Xinjiang or left China illegally through either Pakistan or Afghanistan, and then get trained by the foreign terrorist groups, and then come back to China and cause terrorist activity, which I think about 400 people got killed in a number of instances in about 3 years, from 2014 to about 2017. Then the Chinese government said, hey, we have to stop it. Then they started the so-called re-education camp in Xinjiang, and then try to radicalize all those people. And since then, there were no more terrorist attack within China. So Chinese people are very reluctant to allow any terrorist attack to happen in China. To the Chinese, or at least to the Chinese government, stability is the #1 priority. They need to get the society in stable environment so that the Chinese people are happy. If the Chinese people are not happy, although the Chinese Communist Party is a very large party, but you cannot, when 1.4 billion people is angry, it is very difficult to control. So it's better to get the 1.4 billion people happy, then your government is secure. So I think that is the fundamental thinking behind the Chinese government. The first priority is, obviously, like any political party, is in power. To keep it in power, one choice is by making your your people happy. Now there's no election, so making people happy is not a party and party competition. There's no competition. If people are angry, your party is gone. There's no alternative. So this is the difference, and therefore, the first contact. Actually, let's put it this way: Taliban and China has been in contact unofficially for a very long time. But in last month, I think when the Deputy State Secretary from United States, Sherman, visited China, on that same week, the Foreign Minister of China met with a Taliban high official delegations to discuss about the future of Taliban.
or the future of Afghanistan. On that meeting, the Taliban promised to stop all terrorist activity, at least those terrorist activity originated from Afghanistan, to enter China in order to secure some help from China in order to help them rebuild. And China say, okay, we can help you to rebuild on the condition that you are not fostering any terrorist groups again. I think that is the promise between the Chinese government and the current government of Afghanistan. Whether we recognize the government or not, it is now the government in charge. So I think China is very practical. China have never been preferential to any political parties of a country. Whichever parties is in charge of the country, they recognize the party and then will work pragmatically. I think that is the Chinese, that is my understanding of the Chinese government.
But could the Chinese use the Taliban by offering them money to increase their terrorist activity against the West? Would that be in China's interest, because the West is being not so nice to China? So
no, I don't think that that is a good approach. Now, China, let me tell you what is the top priority of the Chinese government at the moment. They just had their first 100 years anniversary, which is the establishment of the Chinese Communist Party. The second 100-year anniversary will be the establishment of the People's Republic of China, which is coming in 2049. So China have lifted all the people out of extreme poverty by 2020 because they want to celebrate their 100 years anniversary of the formation of Chinese Communist Party, which is this year. So they had the first goal, which the Communist Party told the Chinese government, Chinese people, is that we want to eliminate the extreme poverty before our 100 years anniversary, and they delivered on that. Now, what they are promising the Chinese government, Chinese people for the second 100th anniversary is that China will develop into a strong, modern, social country. Strong meaning that it will not be humiliated again like 200 and 300 years ago. We know Chinese people have suffered a huge humiliation. For example, the Opium War, the colonization of Hong Kong, colonization of Macau, etc. So that is considered a national humiliation. So the first thing the Chinese government promised the Chinese people, say, no, our country will not be humiliated again. So that's the number one. The second one is modern country. Modern country meaning you just seen in the videos before, building up the infrastructure, building up the country so that people can live in a modern lifestyle, so that people can enjoy their life. I think the human's life in the current era is the best ever in our whole human history. And China want to keep it that way. In that way, the Chinese people will be satisfied, no problem. And then it's a socialist country. Socialist in Chinese term meaning there will be an unavoidable inequality of wealth, but the wealth difference will be so small that we don't really care. Now, there are two ways to do this. One way is actually tax. We have this in our Western government as well. It's the second redistribution of wealth. For example, we work, we pay tax, and if you have high income, you pay more tax. Why? Because it is a mechanism of redistribution of wealth. The government take the tax more from the rich and then use it for social constructions, for social work, in other including welfare, including, for example, the disability insurance, etc. These are social welfares, and these are funded by the tax. That means we are redistributing the wealth. China wants to do that by wealth redistribution. So I will be looking at Chinese tax having a much deeper gradient in the next 10 years. At the moment, the personal income threshold is too low. I think they will raise that threshold, and then they will very quickly go into pretty deep tax, so that the rich people is really have to contribute more in terms
Can
of
I just ask you a question there, Albert, please?
Yes.
Talking about redistribution of wealth,
Yeah.
Isn't it a fact that because so many companies, especially tech companies, have become really wealthy in China?
Yeah.
And part of this redistribution of wealth now is in progress by not allowing these companies to go beyond what they had accumulated at the moment. I mean, was it Alibaba or something?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a different issue.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a different. We had a lot about the current Chinese government acts against the technology companies, right? But not other companies. There are other companies which is as wealthy as the tech companies. So the camp down here is not about this company making too much money. This company make a lot of money and pay a lot of tax. The Chinese government is happy with that one. What the Chinese government want to do is to regulate the cyberspace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's not about attacking because they're rich. They are getting this technology company to get in line with the cyberspace policy of China. So that's a different issue. So that's how I understand it.
Yeah, okay, but I would have thought that the same applied to developers, for example, who have accumulated.
For the real estate developer, there's another issue here. The Chinese government say houses is for living, it's not for investment. So you can buy a house, but it's not for your investment, it's for you to live in. So I think later on, they will also put on pretty high tax for your second house or third house and so forth. Your primary house probably will have a very large tax incentive to let you have the first house. But the second and third, I think, sorry, we need to tax pretty high. But what I can say is that this policy will not be acted on in the current 14 5-year plan. And I don't see it to be enacted on in the next 5-year plan. But beyond that, I think the second real estate holding probably will pay quite a heavy tax in their 16 5-year plan, because they have to do that in order to achieve what they call the socialist country dream. People have approximately same wealth. Not now. Wealth difference is inevitable, but they don't want that wealth difference to be a million times. They probably will keep that. Obviously, one or two will be out of the market, but in general, they want to keep the differences within. I think at the moment they are investigating whether the highest paid employee of a company and they pay of the least paid employee, the ratio of that, I think they would start working on setting a upper limit on that one.
The problem, what the discussion would be about then would be, does that incentivize people if they don't get a lot more than, the ordinary worker? Do they have the willingness to invest and to experiment and to try harder and harder.
Yeah, I think that is one of the issues they have to investigate, and this
Yeah.
is they are looking at it at the moment, trying to see if we have put a too low ceiling, will that desensitize?
Yeah.
So I think that they're investigating, and there's no concrete result come out yet. But I think by 2049, we will see some kind of that kind of thing happening in China, because that is where they talk about the second 100 years anniversary. Yeah. Sorry.
Albert, can I ask you, do you know what the situation is with, say, death duties and inheritance tax at the moment in China?
At the moment, it's 0, but I think they will be putting on a large inheritance tax later on. But at the moment, 0. I think that is not fair. But because the Chinese get rich only in the last 40 years. They haven't got a lot of experience of getting rich. Now, I doesn't mean that there were not wealthy people in China, but since the beginning of the new China, okay, the People's Republic of China, you go through the land reform, all the rich people either had left China or have been put back to 0. So in 1949, we can say China go back to a blank slate and start again. People has been forcefully equalized. And then after Mao died, Deng Xiaoping's open a reform. At that time, one of the very controversial question is, Deng Xiaoping said, let some people get rich first. That was very controversial because that is everything against the communist idea. Communist idea means everybody is of the same wealth. But when Deng Xiaoping said, let somebody get rich first, that is a very controversial question. So frankly, China faced the problem only after the opening. And then after the opening, it takes the people at least 10 or 20 years to get rich. So what we are saying that we see the wealthy people in China is only from the last 20 years. So China haven't got a well plan about how to deal with these very wealthy people yet, especially when they die. These people haven't died yet. Most of them haven't died yet. But there's another issue happening. I'm sure it will be an example for the other industry, is in the movie industry. You know, movie stars typically, the star get a lot of pay, and whereas the crew probably will be surviving on almost nothing. China put on a clamp on that one, and I think there is upper limit of the pay for a actor or actress in a series, how much they can get paid at the maximum. And recently there are a number of these actresses being sued for having 2 contracts, what they call a above ground, underground contract. The above ground contract shows that the actress is paid under that law, so that they are paid at that rate. But the underground contract is a financial transfer of wealth, and that which is illegal, in order to pay the actor or actress much more than they deserve. There's a number of actor actresses being sued at the moment. I think that is part of the thing Chinese government doing.
Albert, can I ask a question about large organizations that have a traditional hierarchy of management, from unskilled to skilled worker to foreman and supervisor, managers, etc. Is there a similar pay structure to what we would find in the West of advancing pay levels?
At the moment, yes. Yeah, at the moment, yes. at the moment, most of the company structure is copied from the West. China is now starting to treat the company structure in order to fit their socialist point of view. And this process just started. And this is why we see so much activity in 2021. This is a pretty late start, so to speak, before the Chinese government haven't paid attention on how the company structure.
And associated, but side question, is there any discrimination between the sexes, positive, or is there any effort to get equal female employment at different levels of management and society, including the Communist Party?
The Chinese government is, first of all, atheists. They don't believe in a God, okay? So they have no religion. The second thing is the Chinese government is gender neutral. They don't care about whether you are man or woman. They don't care. They are very pragmatic. And for example, in the People's Congress, the National People's Congress, which consists of about 3,000 representatives all around China, I think about 25% are female. I don't know.
Pretty low then.
Yeah, it's pretty low. But for example, the deputy premier sent to Wuhan during that COVID-19 in 2020, she is a lady. And she is now being sent to another. I think she is the kind of like fire department. And that's problem, she is being sent there. And obviously she's very good. Okay. But we see that. But yes, still the same. Just like there are more men in power than female, but doesn't mean that there's no female in power. Unlike Afghanistan, by the way. But,
Albert, I did some work in China some years back in the financial services sector. And the number of women that I came across, senior women, who were running a field agency distribution force of nearly 60,000 people, probably 4 or 5 of them. We don't have that in Victoria or in Australia. Yeah. I mean, they really do hold some, women in China, as I said, in the financial services sector, really do hold some very senior positions.
Yeah, and then we have some self-made billionaires who are Chinese, who are female as well. And quite a number of them, yes. So the Chinese government put it the simplest way is they don't care whether you are male or female. As long as you are you can cat mouse, then you're a good cat.
One of the interesting unisex attributes of some of the lady executives that I had occasion to deal with in Australia when they came to Australia, and in China for that matter, was their ability to keep up the men with drinking. They could probably drink most men under the table, actually.
Actually, I don't know because I don't drink. And when I'm in China, because I don't drink, I'm not forced to drink anyway. So that's not a problem. But I think, yeah, sometimes they do have to socialize, and then alcohol is part of that.
They do it well.
Yeah, but again, the Chinese government is now clamping down on that one. It has been, I think, a couple of years ago now, all tax-free dinners. Okay, so you're hosting somebody by your company, and then you're going to claim it as an expense. There must not be alcohol. Alcohol is out. Is not. You cannot put the alcohol into the bill. Put it that way.
When I was there about 10 years ago in the business so-called entertainment sector, it was pretty.
Yeah,
there was a lot of drinking
as well.
But it was at the stage where, as you say, Albert, the government was starting to sort of straighten up like we have in Australia, where it wasn't becoming socially acceptable in a business sense. Yeah.
But now the government is now starting to do something. Okay, can we just continue?
Yep.
Okay, now let's just continue. This one is about outdoor gym.
我们退休工人下山有的要锻炼身体，那么有这个东西嘛最好了。
I don't know when we see that in Australia. Obviously, big data helps a lot to supply that. And I don't know whether they cost money or not. I don't know. I really don't know. You haven't said. And from what I'm looking, I don't see any requirement to pay. But again, in China, you don't confit anymore. You use a QR code. So I really don't know whether they are free or not, but I will assume they are free.
Good morning, everyone. We're in Xingqing Park in the middle of Xi'an today. If you do come to China, you've got to come to a park, of course, and there is no time to come like early in the morning. Crazy Chinese park band. Never seen anything like that before. That was amazing. Like everybody was singing along and knew all the words. I was just kind of trying to join in somehow. Parks in China are kind of famous for being full of the weird and wonderful. It's actually hard to find a quiet spot in a park in China. You know, parks in maybe England are usually pretty quiet, peaceful places. They're full of life here. So like everyone's out, especially like kind of the, I guess the 50s and over retired people. Just come here and do every possible thing you could ever imagine. It's pretty amazing, actually. I guess the most common things people do here are obviously your martial arts, so different types of Kung Fu and Tai Chi Chuan. So I used to live really near this park when I first moved to Xi'an, 2008, 2007, something like that. And I used to come here every morning and learn Tai Chi from an old fella. And that was before I could really speak any Chinese at all. I'm sure a lot of it was lost in translation. I should try again now. I can actually kind of understand what the hell's going on. There's a cold December morning today. It's about 3 degrees. Doesn't deter people. Everyone's out. They come here every single day. This park is famous, not just in Xi'an, but actually in all of China, for the amount of people that actually come here doing every possible thing you can imagine. But if you think there's a lot of weird stuff in one video, I've only been here about 20 minutes. You just walk around, the amount of stuff you see is unreal. So there's a lot of weird, not weird, that's the wrong word, just different things that people do in parks that you don't really see in other countries, I think. A lot of them relate to health and fitness, like a lot of like kind of breathing exercises and things. So I just saw this young girl, she's about 6 years old, with a teacher, might be a mum, I don't really know, doing a Tai Chi, Chen style Tai Chi sword form. Absolutely amazing. I mean, everyone in this park is, honestly, I'm young in this park, to be honest. And there's this little girl, and I don't know, she wants to come here every day. Amazing. She had a crowd around her when she was doing her form. Really spectacular. You don't see a lot of kids in China doing things like that now either. So it's pretty nice to actually get to witness something like that. I've seen some pretty amazing stuff in this park today. This guy behind me, not. Obviously, finding a quiet spot to actually get to talk to the camera is so difficult in this place. Everywhere you look, there's just stuff going on, music, noise. It's pretty special. There's such a positive vibe here. I just met this old lady, and she was like, she taught me how to do. It's called. It's like basically it's like swinging these ropes around, and she dances while she does it. I'm not going to show you me doing it because, to be honest, I was completely rubbish at it. But just lovely people. Everyone's so happy and positive. Makes you feel good. There's a big Islamic vibe in a lot of the music and dance that you'll see. It's because in Xi'an there is a pretty large Muslim population. It has been for hundreds of years, to be honest. So yeah, a lot of the dancing is pretty cool. Very old park, Xingxing Park. It used to be it was the site of like a Tang Dynasty palace. Actually, the park itself's a little bit like kind of dilapidated. It's not really looked after very well, but it's like the most popular place where people come and exercise and dance and sing and every other possible thing there is to do. So parks here are so much different to you know, back in England. I think parks in England are obviously place to get away from the city and noise, and they're grassy and you can kind of hang out and do what you want there, I think, and just have a picnic or kick a ball out or just be away from people. Here, you know, it's already the big city. It's not really a getaway, to be honest, because it's still so busy and so noisy. But the way they're set out, parks in China, they're like almost designed to have all these open spaces so that people can do activities, because that's what people want to do. You know, people live in, I guess, relatively small apartments and don't really have their own garden usually. So therefore, having these spaces to come in, you know, whether it's dancing or martial arts or whatever it is you do, they are quite important. And it's used to the max. You know, I think every inch of this park is just taken up with people. You know, it's nice. It's a weird thing. I think a lot of people would look at it and just think it's noisy and kind of messy. Maybe, I don't know. I like it. I think it's good that people can get out and do things, and it's people of all ages. You know, I mean, I've seen some guys doing Tai Chi who look, to be honest, well in their 80s, fit as hell. It's great. It's a nice thing. Okay, I'm going to call it a day there. I think I've been outdone by the Tai Chi guys because my hands are like ice. I hope you enjoyed the video.
Calligraphy in the park. Okay, this is a kind of bird. This bird means dancing. And we also have what's that called? The puppet show.
好汉大庭广众之下，切莫在此昆明吐雾。谢谢。
抖音。
Okay, what you saw is the park rangers patrolling the parks, but they are dressed in Asian Chinese army uniform. Okay, the last slide here. Next term we will be on 3 topics again. The first one is, what does the Chinese government meant when they say 100 years? How would it impact the world? And the second will be whether we should live with or without COVID, the Chinese COVID-19 strategy versus the West. The last one, I will try to talk about the Chinese space program. Especially, we know that the International Space Station is going to retire in 2024. And by then, in 2024, the only space station in the world will be Chinese space station. So we'll look at that. So that's my presentation today. Any other questions?
Albert,
yeah.
Are you able to send out a fresh link for U3A Nunawading? I don't know whether we're having the school holidays or not, and I couldn't find the link to join. I can only find this special link we're using today.
Okay, so I will try to send it. Are you? Yeah. Okay, I will send this link also in the Big History course so that you can get it.
Okay, thank you. But could you put it under Albert Ip China to make it easier to find? Thank you.
Okay, I will put that as a subject so that easier for you to find. Yes.
Thank you
problem.
very much for the explanation about the how the western province of China, Xinjiang, gets its water. That was excellent. Thank you very much, Albert.
You are so welcome.
Yeah, Albert, education and medicine completely free?
No. Yes. Education is compulsory and free for 9 years.
Right. Okay.
And medicine is not free, but again, they run something like our Medicare system.
Yeah. Okay.
So they will have I think they will have a ceiling, how much you spend in 1 year. When you reach that ceiling, the rest is on the government.
Right. Okay.
But for the COVID, all expenses are from the government.
From the government.
Yeah.
And
So
do they have a retiring age for workers?
yes, women 55, men 60.
That's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, they are going to raise it. I think they can't sustain that. Too young.
Is that compulsory, or can you volunteer to go on longer if you want?
Compulsory in a sense, but volunteer in other sense. It only means that after your retirement age, you will not be formally paid, but you can do whatever you like. So you want to continue with what the thing you like, with a minimum salary, or just like what we are doing here in UVA on a voluntary basis. Yes, but on a pay employment basis, I think no.
There's no
From the
pension.
government, no.
There's no pension like Australia.
They are also having a supplement, just like our superannuation. They are starting, but there is also they call it a old age pension, old age insurance. So unlike our pension, which we contribute and then whatever we contribute, we can get it back. Okay, so that is our superannuation system. In China, you contribute a insurance. Everybody the same. Doesn't depend on your income. And then when you retire, you always get the same amount. Doesn't depend on your income as well, for as long as you live. So a bit like our pension here, but you have to contribute. I think they have to contribute.
More like the English system.
Sorry?
More like the English system.
So can you explain a little bit about English system?
Well, the English system is a national security payment that everyone who works pays. And once you retire and get a pension, you get a pension and everyone gets it. It's not means tested.
Yeah, something like that as well, yes. So I think they copied the English system.
Oh, but when I was in China on a holiday, our guide said that when adults were 60, they used to lose their house, and they used to have to go and live with normally their older son. Is that true, or not?
I don't know, because now I don't know, when were you in China?
About 3 or 4 years ago.
Because I don't know. What I understand is that nowadays housing, now obviously if this is your own apartment, that means you own the house. There's no reason why you have to give it up. Right. But if it is a government housing, then I don't know. So for example, if you are a government employee and you have some housing from that employment, when you retire, I don't know whether they can keep that housing. Probably not. But again, there's another issue here is a lot of people had to leave their so-called village to work in the city. Okay, so in the city, when they're working, they were given housing, but it's only provided by the employer, and probably they don't they will pay a minimum symbolic rent. So when you retire, obviously you have to give it up. So
all those tower blocks that we saw surrounding the parks, most of them would be rented, or would they own them, or would they be owned by a company or the government?
I think most of them will be owned by individual citizens.
Righto.
Yeah, but obviously, for a large company, for example, for Huawei, the very large company, they do have their headquarters, and then around the headquarters there will be residential buildings which will be allowed for their employees to live in. So I think that is also possible. But from those which we see in today's video, I think most of them will be private owned.
So
Maybe
most of them, the people would have worked in a factory, and they would have got enough money to then have bought one of those apartments.
No, it depends on where you bought your apartment. If you are in the first tier cities, that will be even more expensive than Melbourne here. Okay. But if you live in a second tier, third tier city, the price will be much lower. For example, it will be similar to a rural area here as well. So it all depends on where you have your property. Most of the people, when they're now, Chinese people is very good at saving. We really want to save up money for our old age. So they will put whatever money they have, and then will find an affordable apartment, and then they will plan to pay it off before retirement. So most of people will not have, China has no homeless problem at the moment, at least. So that says something, okay? The Chinese people doesn't have homeless problem.
So there's enough people get enough income to be able to save for a deposit for an apartment and get a mortgage, and most would then have paid it off before retirement, because
Yes.
if they haven't paid it off before retirement, then they would have to go and live with the family.
Probably, yeah. Probably, because I would think that most of them will be able to pay off, because as I said in the last question and time, so China is running a socialist country. They really want everybody to be living live in dignity. So if you have problem, I think there will be other resources available for them to seek help.
Is gambling much of a problem? Does it exist in China?
What?
Is betting on horses, or what form does gambling take, if there is any?
I don't understand the question. Can you explain?
Gambling, betting.
Oh, gambling.
Gambling.
Okay. Yes or no. China doesn't allow casinos. There's no casino in China. The only casino in China is in the special region, administrative region, which is called Macau. Besides that, there is no gambling. So legally, gambling is illegal. But if you pay mahjong or pay poker, etc., and if you do gamble in that sense, I don't think government can get rid of it. Government can't control it. But large-scale gambling is forbidden in China.
Do they have national lotteries and things like tax lotto or anything like that?
They are clamping down on that one. I think they have some before, like our Royal Melbourne Hospital lottery, where they will give you a prize, but you have to buy lottery for a for a good cause, but I think China is clamping down on that one. They don't allow that. Any more question?
They have horse racing in China.
They are horse racing as a sport, but not horse racing as a betting. Especially, for example, in the Mongolia region, the inner Mongolia, etc.
Yeah.
Horse racing is a very much their culture.
Yeah.
But that is not for betting money on.
And in
Okay.
Hong Kong,
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
racing in Hong
fishes.
Kong,
Yeah.
happy valley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fishes
sure.
and cocks, the chickens, etc. All kinds of things happen everywhere in China, but the government is clamping down on gambling. And then China, I think China will be clamping down on smoking later on. But at the moment, too many the high politicians still smoke, so they're having a different problem. But when that large batch of smoking politicians gone, I think China would start clamping down on smoking.
It's interesting, Albert. Albert, it's interesting that the vaping contraptions that people use in Australia and the West, which are quite poisonous and dangerous, a lot of them are made in China, imported to Australia, but in China they're illegal.
Yeah.
So they're happy to poison us, but they won't poison themselves.
Well, they are making money, and then
That's
eventually,
right.
I think this industry should be gone. I hope that government will do something about that, because I really think smoking should be eliminated in the world.
Yeah, good.
That's my feeling, because I don't smoke.